I know what you're thinking. After that last exciting thunderstorm special episode of Tedium Unlimited, I'm just positive that you're going, what happened next? What happened next? Well, right you are to ask that, because it was an exciting story. In fact, it's so exciting it probably doesn't deserve to be on Tedium Unlimited, because it wasn't tedious. Well, I suppose in some ways it was tedious. But, so I'll classify it as tedious enough that I can put it in my vlog. So, let's, first off, let's go take a look at just a little bit more as the storm began to end. Well, the rain itself is dying down, but you can see, maybe, I'll try to brighten this up in the editor. You can see that the street's flooded. The lightning is still constant. It's just constantly lighting up the sky. It's just several emergency vehicles just ran down the main road. It's interesting. Hey! I just realized my neighbors across the street have power, but this side does not. Oh, that sucks. I hate it when that happens. Let's see if we can use the spotlight to get a good view of the yard. Completely flooded. That footage was about an hour after the storm started, maybe an hour and a half at the most. And you could see a couple things. One is that my yard, the backyard, which is the direction that the rain was coming from, was 3 inches deep in water, just standing water everywhere. And you could also see that my neighbors had electricity, whereas we didn't. So at this point, we'd been without power for about 1 hour. And, you know, it's one of those things where the way the lines and the way the feeds go, that sometimes one side of our street goes out and the other side doesn't. And this is one of those times. You saw that the lightning was continuing to flash. Now, the next day, the National Weather Service released info that said that that storm over Phoenix between the hours of 7 and 9 had over 4,000 lightning events. In-cloud lightning, that is those flash the clouds kind of lightning. That's something like 1 every 2 seconds on average. It was continuous, and we saw most of them predominantly because we had nothing else to look at, because our power was out and it was dark except for the flashes of lightning coming in. And this continued until we eventually just gave up and went to bed with all the doors and windows open because it was getting hot. So let's pick it up the next morning. Power has been out over 10 hours now. That is not... It could have been much worse. This could have been a month ago, but anticipated high today is 101, 38 Celsius. And that means at night it will have dropped just into the 80s. We had all the windows and doors open, which means it was a little bit breezier, still hotter than if we were outside. The neighbors chose to be outside all night. In fact, they just sat in their car and constantly started it up on the music and slammed doors and shouted and generally made a party of it till I don't know what time in the morning, because those bastards wouldn't shut up. They don't realize that they're right by our bedroom window, which normally isn't that big of a problem, unless all the windows are open. So I had to listen to them all night. I wanted to take a baseball bat to them, honestly. Except they don't own a baseball bat, so they weren't really in danger. I do own a cricket bat, though. I'm out inspecting for damage now. I don't even see our power failure on the Arizona Public Service, that's the power company, outage board. Although stuff in the neighborhood. So I did report it. Hopefully they're working on it, but there's 39 outages currently being worked on their outage board. See what we can see in terms of damage, if there is anything. Well, this piece got blown out. That's happened once before when the wind here in this back patio is blowing into this corner, and it's, you know, obviously it's going out through those trellises, but they're putting up too much resistance, and finally one of them pops. So that's not too bad, and it doesn't look like it's, well, it has caught the power cord for the security camera here. Oh, crap. Here's one. I'm guessing when the security camera comes back on, well, that one won't. Similarly, there was a board that was here in this window over this window air conditioning unit. I had recently replaced it and hadn't yet sealed it in place, and when we opened the door to the house, the back door, the wind blew in, and just like the trellis, found the path of least resistance and just blew that out like a cork. So again, not too bad. I found that piece of wood. Still plenty of emergency vehicles out. The police are hovering south of here. I'm guessing there's probably traffic lights out, which will mean lots of problems as the day wears on if they don't get it fixed. I took some time to fix the damage, fix the window, fix the trellis. I took that security camera down and need to do some testing on it to see if it ripped the internal wires out. But having done that, and with no power, and every time I looked at the APS website, there were more and more outages being reported. Chuan had taken Michelle to school and then taken James and herself to her school, and so I locked up the house and headed into my office. I'd kind of expected to be off that day, but there was nothing more I could do except be uncomfortable at the house, so I headed to work, and that was quite the endurance run because there were trees down in the street. It's only 8 miles. But there were trees down, there were roads blocked, there were lights out. I think the police were stretched to their capacity because not every traffic light had a police officer at it. They just didn't have enough to do it. And it was very slow. And throughout the day I kept checking the APS website, and throughout the day there continued to be no information whatsoever. And there was no... well, there were developments. More and more outages continued to be added to the list. By the time I was done at work, there was 59 outages reported around the city, and there's 2 utility companies. That's just one of them. And I was later told about when I went home that there were still 22,000 households just on my provider still without power at the end of the day. And similarly on the other providers. So as total, we were told that at one point there were 50,000 households without power. Well, I've been to work and back, and traffic lights are out all over town. Trees are down everywhere, and as of about 4 o'clock this afternoon, there's still no power at my house. So we've come to Metro Center, the Dead Mall, and just using their air conditioning and getting Doctor Who stuff. And now we're gonna go eat, and hopefully we'll get some power back before bedtime. I really don't want to stay in a hotel, and I don't think I'm going to, but it's an option that's on the table. And that is a sight for sore eyes. Electric lights at the house again. Finally. 24 hours later. And that was it. We got home and the power was finally back. We had been eating dinner and I checked the APS website, and it had been broken up into areas. So if you could track down which area you were listed under, then you could follow the ticket. And the ticket I was on was 1,800 households without power. And it had been that way since the morning. And when we were sitting there at dinner and I was looking, it showed my ticket down to 1,002 households without power. And I thought, well, I've got 800 of them down. That's like a 4 in 9 chance that my power was back. And so we decided to head back to the house and see if the power was out. And if it was, we were going to decide whether we were going to go to a hotel. But it wasn't. And so we got back. The power had been out 24 hours. It's the longest outage I've ever encountered. It was a long day. And everyone was really happy to turn in early and get a good night's sleep with the air conditioning on. Unfortunately, we were not able to save the contents of the refrigerator or the refrigerator freezer. But the contents of the deep freeze made it. So we're going to see, I believe you can ask for compensation from APS for the contents of your lost food for their service failure. Anyway, that's it for this storm. Next time, heck, this time, like, comment, and subscribe. We'll talk to you later.